Why, hello, people. This is a first since we've started to do this. We have a return guest. Actually, someone wanted to come back on the podcast and in our brand new studio. So it's a first for both of us today. This sort of came together at the last minute. We had a couple of logistics issues to work out in the background. And I forgot that George was in the office on Monday. So I went, you know what? This is going to be a perfect time for the week, I think. Welcome back, George Mann. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm happy to be back. Obviously, new setup here.
It is. It's going to take a little bit to getting used to.
It's impressive.
Yeah, it is. It is very impressive, and yeah, we're definitely going to get it. So, let's get into it.
Yep.
It's been 12 months since you started Gem Resourcing. Obviously, for people that haven't watched your first podcast, Gem Resourcing was obviously spun out of TRS Resourcing's desire to pull out of Perth and to sort of focus more on our Eastern States operations. So first question I got for you, mate, how's it been setting up all the structure and all the back-end stuff within Gem Resourcing?
Yeah, it's been a challenge, but a good one.
Okay, let's drill into that a bit more. What sort of challenges have you faced?
I guess a lot of it is things that I've actually never done before. For example, when I was at TRS, the payroll side of things was all done by a payroll expert, Rachel.
Yes.
Whereas with myself, it's a first. It's a first for everything. But I mean, these days you can pretty much learn anything online. Google, YouTube. It's been fine.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of those challenges because everyone says, "Oh, how hard can it be?" Right. I've learned the hard way a couple of times how hard can it be. But let's talk about just apparently we're getting a couple of followers on this now as well. So people that are watching this can get some value out of it. What do you think has surprised you about the payroll or surprised you about setting up the infrastructure of Gem Resourcing? Like what's been the biggest oh fuck, I didn't realise that was actually that hard?
Well, that's a good question.
Thank you.
I feel like I was prepared for majority of it.
Yep.
I've had a couple of hurdles in terms of dealing with new companies, new clients. Some have gone really, really well.
Yep.
A couple of occasions, not so well, but it's been interesting. I guess.
Yep.
A couple of the new things that I've been doing is obviously the payroll. It's the back end paperwork when it comes to the insurances and the liability and stuff. That was probably my biggest surprise.
Okay.
I realised I didn't, have the skill set to understand what the future would hold. For example,
I cut you off there for a sec. You had the skill set, you just didn't have the knowledge.
Yeah, true. But when I was filling out the paperwork, they're saying, "Okay, George, what does the next 12 months hold for you?" And I had to scratch my head and go, this is what I want to do. And they're saying, "No, George, what's the numbers looking like in the next 12 months?" And I sit back and go, so that was a bit of a challenge. I got a bit of help from some good people, Interlink insurance brokers.
Shout out for trying. How
good
are you?
Friends
My brother
of ours.
from another mother.
Good friends of ours. But
very good friends. Yeah.
Man, their teams helped me along the way. They held my hand. They gave me all the support that I need. And that's why we're here, I guess.
Okay. So what you sort of, from what I'm just hearing there, is it's really important to have good people around you all the time. But obviously when you're starting up a business, having that right insurance broker in place, having the right funding in place, having the right CRM software in place is always helpful from day one. I guess you've had the benefit of seeing what's worked at TRS Resourcing and going, you know what, I'm not going to reinvent the wheel here, and totally get that. But okay, so that's the challenges that's been going on, credit, clients, and we've all been there, man. When we all started out, it's just, you just do everything and then you work out what your flow is. What's been one of the biggest positives or one of the biggest things that's happened in the last 12 months with running your own firm?
The support. Support. So much like the fighting, obviously I've got a background in fighting. When you're in the ring, even though it's only you in there battling one-on-one versus another person, there's a whole village behind you supporting you. And it's the exact same in recruitment. Even though I started it as a one-man band at Gem Resourcing. You sort of started one-man band at TRS as well, at Gem Resourcing, I had a village behind me like yourself, Interlink, Adrian. So everything was basically backed and supported. So if I made a mistake, I was supported. If something went well, I was supported. But for myself, the biggest positivity was realising who's got your back when you need it.
That, I couldn't have said that better myself. But I guess what you're trying to say is, you sort of understand the liability, sign the paperwork, yeah, whatever, insurance, declarations, yeah, done, great. And then you obviously have that moment of, oh fuck, like this is all now on me.
Yeah.
I guess at your days at TRS, it was always you were just focusing on, billing, sales, people out. You left all the liability stuff up to me, and I was totally fine with that. Right. Now that you've got a solid foundation with Gem and you've worked out your client base and what areas you want to grow into, because obviously, you've got to make sure that the client base that you're supporting has a need for your services. There's nothing worse than building something that no one actually needs. You're over here in Melbourne. We're having a bit of a strategy session whilst you're here, and obviously it's been, as always, between you and me, it's been a heavy, shop conversation. Gem is now in a position to start employing recruiters. Let's have a chat about what you look for in internal staff. And also, I'd like to know really what your plans are for Gem.
So I guess growth is obviously key, but the right growth with the right people. I mean, I just mentioned a moment ago about having a village supporting you. I think it's important to bring someone in that kind of meets that culture, the criteria of I guess, the type of individual that you're looking for.
Okay.
Gem is growing, so I'm excited to say I've got a member of staff that's going to be coming on board shortly.
Fantastic.
At the moment, it's just myself and Alicia, and it's been great. Alicia's been fantastic. She's really rebranded the company, and
she's very, very enthusiastic about that, and you can see it in your brand.
Yeah, and she's excellent in what she does. All right, but now we're at a stage where we're ready to take that next step, and that's to bring someone on board. So
good.
I've got someone that's coming on board. He's
starting later this year.
Yeah, a little bit of experience in recruitment. I know him well. We know each other outside of work, so that's going to be a really interesting dynamic. He fits the culture of everything that I want, and I guess the future of Gem resourcing. He's similar to myself. It's going to be good. I'm sure that will come with different challenges, but it's going to be really good. And then from there, that's a huge leap that I'm excited to take.
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, bringing on your first staff member is always daunting. And you don't get comfortable just by, you get comfortable by being uncomfortable about bringing on certain staff members. Now that you have more staff, more requirements, more more risk, more cost, more overheads. I'd like to ask you, how do you hold yourself to a higher standard to make sure that you keep Gem going in the right direction? And what I mean by that question is, shit happens, stressful situations come up, a client doesn't pay a bill, a client gets angry, causes you great personal grief. How do you personally hold yourself to a higher standard, just to make sure that everyone that's reporting to you and that you're responsible to make sure that they get a paycheck? I'd just like to talk to you about what you do and how you hold yourself to that higher standard.
So I guess when I was at TRS, I obviously had yourself over me saying, okay,
more standing over you,
guidance here.
Fuck me.
This is what our focus is. This is what our strategy is. I guess when you go out on your own, you don't really have that person. So I think it's just sitting down with yourself and holding yourself accountable, trying to be better every day. Trying to constantly take it to that next level. And I think that's what I'm doing now. I think I've done a lot of that over the last 12 months. But I think it's saying that, okay, we've hit this certain standard. Let's try and go past that. Achieve higher than that. What about yourself? What do you do?
I was wondering when you were going to start asking me a question. Actually, you're still suffering from jet lag.
A little bit, but I'll be just fine.
How I hold myself to a high standard is I have a life coach. I also have a sort of business psychologist that I check in once a month with, just to make sure that we're all okay. Fitness is a big thing for me. I had a injury recently, and I had to take some medication that I wasn't over the moon with, so I took myself off that. But how I hold myself to a higher standard is to really, you know, back in the early recruitment days, I taught you about just do what it says on the side of the tin. Well, that's how I hold myself to a higher accountability. If I say something, I'm going to do something with the staff, I make sure that's done. Sometimes I've let myself down by not doing it quick enough for that staff member. But if you're going to say you're going to do something, do it. You know, at the end of the day, as us as owners of independent recruitment companies, you know, we don't really have anyone to report to, but we have to hold ourselves to that standard. So really, because we're dealing with employment liability and, you know, industrial manslaughter, workers' comp, fair work, and that's just off the top of my head, insurance liability, right? There's a lot of responsibility on our shoulders. So I just make sure that really, at the end of the day, I do what I say I'm going to do. I support the clients that I still support within my business to the best of my ability. Sometimes I'm not everyone's friend. That's okay. I say things that, you know, people don't agree with. But like, I've learned over my odyssey of, geez, how long have I been as a recruitment owner?
A few years.
July 2013, somewhere around there, is really just being accountable. Let people being heard, but that's how I hold myself to a higher standard.
And I think we all know that we've all got our own patterns and we're set in, I guess, our own ways. But you mentioned there that you had a little bit of an injury and stuff, and I guess that would have disrupted your pattern in your day-to-day.
Yeah, so I blew...
How did that affect things?
So I blew up my hip about 2 years ago, and I had this niggling hip injury, so that kind of kicked off a bit recently. Had a couple of things happen in my personal life, as you know, we've discussed before, but I guess it's also how I hold myself to a higher standard is just to say that sometimes I'm not doing the best that I should be doing because of this reason, that reason, and just letting the stuff know. Also, how I hold myself to a higher standard is, you know, my backers at TRS Resourcing. They're a big multinational company. They're a funding company. They expect results. They want a return on their investment as well. So I'm always keeping them in the loop. You know, they're over the moon that I'm going on holidays soon. I haven't been on holidays since the start of the year. So, you know, that's how I hold myself to a higher standard. And also, we're all going to fuck up. Fuck me, have we both fucked up? Like, more time. And just be honest about it. Don't blame others. Don't point the finger. So that's how I hold myself to a higher standard. It's more about us. Have you kept your phone on in this podcast?
It's been driving me mad. It's been buzzing in my pocket. We've got rid of it now. The bomb's been detonated.
Oh my God. The more things change, the more things stay the same. Jesus Christ. Okay. Anyway, it's good to have you back on the podcast, sir. So the other thing I would like to discuss with you is how being an independent recruitment owner, how has that changed your life?
Probably for the better, because I guess it's challenged me in ways that I haven't been challenged before. As you mentioned, it's put, I guess, extra risk and everything like that on my life, because obviously a business, you're responsible for everything. But I enjoy it. I like it. It's changed it for the better. I enjoy the thrill. I enjoy that extra risk, knowing that, okay, if I don't do the right thing and I don't have the right structure in place and it goes astronomically wrong, I got to deal with that. But every part of that I enjoy. And for anyone that's listening, take the jump. You won't regret it.
And the financial benefit will come.
Yeah, in time. I think
absolutely, 100%. It won't happen. It won't happen overnight, but it will happen.
But I think that's a good lesson. Like, it doesn't have to be 100 mile an hour from day one.
No,
I think that's probably a good lesson that I learned. When I started, I was so focused on certain parts, and I had to adjust that over time, because if I didn't have plan A sorted properly, I couldn't move on to plan B. Whereas I guess when I started, I was just go, trying to make money, trying to do sales without having the empire built properly. So
yeah, and we all do it. We all do it because we just want to bring money in the door, because we're all, you know, paranoid that we're going to go fucking broke tomorrow. I get that. So obviously, Gem's been going 12 months. You've had good points, bad points, learning experiences, good experiences. That you're bringing on staff now. You're starting to become a serious player in the West Coast, Western Australian recruitment scene. Okay. What advice would you have to someone who's watching this that wants to maybe start the business, not necessarily in recruitment, and they're not really sure what to do, how to do this? What advice would you give to someone who just wants to start a business? What's the first thing would you say that they needed to do? For you?
I guess back yourself.
Okay.
There's a reason as to why you're considering making that move.
Yep.
Take the baby steps. Don't run before you can walk.
Yep.
And make sure that you've really got a plan in place when it comes to not just making money, but the securities, like we mentioned earlier, making sure you got the right backing, the right insurances, the right safety procedures. And that's in anything. It doesn't just have to be recruitment.
Yep.
Make sure you've got that all intact. And if you're unsure, get in touch. We can certainly help you, give you some advice where you need it.
Okay.
It's definitely that little bit of advice. Baby steps, take your time. Don't just run for the end of the tunnel.
Okay. When you say back yourself, we're talking self-worth, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just knowing that, like, if you're considering it, and obviously you're worried about what could possibly go wrong, it's just about believing that, okay, no, I can do it, and with the right support, there's no reason why it won't be a success.
Okay. How do you deal with the fact that sometimes when you start a business, things don't work out?
Yeah.
I've had a couple of businesses blow up myself. How do you feel that I'll ask the question again. When starting your business, right, and you've got your good times and your bad times, how do you motivate, or how are you going to motivate your team to make sure that they're doing their job to their best ability, thus in turn making the company money, thus in turn making the company more structured, thus in turn bigger foundation to grow from?
So I guess motivation is powered by two things. I guess when you do something right, you know, you get excited, you get a thrill of emotion, and you want to continue that. I guess when it goes wrong and something doesn't necessarily be a big success, or you're not billing what you should be billing, use that motivation to say, no, I want to do better. I want to do better. So the motivation for me is split into two different ways. And it's about not giving up when things are not so right.
Okay. Good answer, sir. Who the fuck are you? Wait, where have you... What? Jesus. Okay. George, you've come a long way.
I mean, it happens. Like, I've seen it time and time again, especially in the sports world, where someone has a couple of run of losses, and they start to lose that little bit of motivation. Or I see it when someone will go on like a 10-win streak, or they'll make 10 placements in a row, and then one thing will go wrong, or they might lose a fight or lose a football game or anything like that, and then it's the end of the world. And they spend so much time focusing on the wrong and the mistakes that they made, they don't then rectify it, get back on the horse and keep going. So I guess what helps me through everything that I do is I try not make the same mistake twice. And that for me is acknowledging when things go wrong. Okay, why did it go wrong? It's okay that it went wrong, but why did it go wrong, and how can we rectify it? How can we fix it?
We're in recruitment, mate. Oh.
But it's relevant.
It's inevitable something will go wrong.
Yeah, but it's irrelevant across all, and it doesn't have to be astronomical. It could be as simple as paying someone the wrong number, the wrong digit, and just rectifying it. You know, it doesn't always have to be big disastrous problems. It can just be little minor things that we don't dwell on it, back on the horse, and we keep cracking.
Good answer.
So, moving on to that, it's got me thinking, where do you see TRS going in the next 12 months?
Good question. I knew you were going to ask me this, so I've been thinking about it.
I'm sure you've got a well-prepared answer.
When we put this together yesterday, I went, yeah, he's going to ask me this question. Where I see TRS? Okay, so over the last 12 months, I've personally raised more money for growth and balance sheet as well. There's definitely been a drop in client requirements. I mean, we still got strong clients. It's just they need less people from us, so we need more clients to support our structure. I'm looking for a couple of recruiters at the moment. I've been looking for a little while now. I have also completely in the process of restructuring a lot of things around our branding, marketing as well. And that all takes time. Like, gone are the days where I can make a decision in 2 minutes and just roll it out. It just doesn't work like that anymore. So 2 more recruiters, definitely. One this side of Christmas, the other one probably when I'm back in holidays from Jan. Also building out Sydney, that's something that keeps getting pushed back on the back burner, but it will be done next year. I'm in the process of moving out of my house. I'm getting a small place in Melbourne, and I'm also getting a place in Sydney in between the two. What else with TRS resourcing? Really starting to build out a couple new client bases within around logistics. Also, we're launching our executive white collar division next year as well, so that's starting to roll out now. But really, we're moving into, how long have I had TRS for now? 8 years. So yeah, it's the new brand refresh is almost finished. And that's the big. I guess the thing that I've learned is once you get your company to a certain size, right, you have to take in other people's ideas and decisions. You can't just go, let's just get this done and go from there. Or you employ other people to do that work. So you have to stop yourself. Hang on. Like, sometimes I'll jump in and, discuss strategy and stuff like that as well. But, you and I had a strategy session last night about, company core values and things like that as well. So really, 2025 for me, I'll be 45. Ooh. I've already started my midlife crisis. And really just supporting our current clients, evaluating the services we offer to them, and really just using the TRS IP tech that I have spent eye-watering money on to roll that out really across Victoria and New South Wales. People have asked me, would I go to South Australia because of Osborne's? At this stage, no, but if we went to South Australia, we'd probably do a JV with you or something, because I don't see it as a long term. Once we build the ships, we build the ships. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of growth opportunities. There's a lot of that, but I guess the biggest thing that I've learned after the last 12 months is I've seen this cycle time and time again. Really, really busy, 3 or 4 years, followed by a quiet year, 2 years afterwards, and I feel that we're not quite through that cycle yet, but I'm definitely starting to see CCADs rising in posting, base wages stabilising, clients being a little bit more optimistic about their hiring requirements. So definitely I've seen that. But at the same time as well, I've seen this pattern time and time again. So just going back to, the playbook is really, and the playbook that I've hammered into you time and time again. That is the playbook as far as I'm concerned. As far as I'm concerned. Now I'm not. There are other playbooks out there, but I think mine's pretty good. So yeah, that's what I want to do there. But the other thing is as well is as you grow the company, more staff, more this, more that, and I've just got to be really, really careful that I allow people to do their jobs without me going, oh, are you sure? Because sometimes I need to let, people do that. And that's really hard. As you know, it's always been hard for me to step in and go, well, we've had this problem before. But the question I have for you, sir, doesn't have to always be about recruitment. As you know, you and I have had many conversations about your fighting career. Yep. And I'm going to ask you something publicly.
Hit me.
When the fuck are you retiring?
I'm not. Well, not in the near future. I've had a little bit of a break, but
you've had a very good career, sir.
I have, but I'm very young and I've still got lots to achieve. So,
okay. So what's coming up in the fighting world?
At the moment, not so much planned.
Oh, really?
I just had a foot injury that's basically put me out for the last, say, 10 months or so.
Yeah, she's a nasty one.
Oh man, it's been a nightmare, to be honest. I've been limping around everywhere for months, but I guess I've looked after myself. I've had a lot of help, been to physio every week.
Yep.
Shout out to Mark. He's been excellent. He's got me back on board. I'm back on my feet. I started training about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago.
Yep, I saw that on your Insta actually.
And I'm moving. I'm moving around. I'm feeling good. I mean, I've got a long way to go, but there's still plenty.
So
plenty
people
to
that
show
wanted
for
to
me.
follow your Instagram and your little odyssey of fighting, what is your Instagram, sir?
My Instagram's GeorgeMann1.
Yes.
Nice and basic, super simple. I guess for me, it's just about getting a bit more consistent with that as well. What happened to me was I used to post semi-regularly.
Yep,
and I
remember
had
that.
quite a good follower and stuff, and had a lot of support from people. And I guess when I got injured, I shied away, took a step back, stopped posting, and I still haven't really posted that much. So I guess it's just getting back into the good routines, letting everyone know I'm still alive, but I'll be back fighting again next year.
I love that. I've always given you a hard time that you don't use your sporting profile enough in your recruitment. Okay, your following is epic. Okay, and I've seen that just by when I do site visits with you, and like I was always really reluctant. I mean, 2 years ago, to think to me that I would be on a podcast is one thing, but having my own fucking podcast is just like mind blowing. All right, hence why I call myself the accidental podcaster. And you've obviously seen the benefits of that, and you see the benefits of the social. Question I have for you, and obviously so people can get out of this. My biggest regret with social, with the company, is not embracing it sooner within my personal brand to promote the company. That is my biggest regret. Claire, for years, was hounding me, which is ironic because Claire was my first employee in TRS. So we've had in-house agency capability from almost day one. And it's only really in the last year that I've actually started to use that capability. I think, how important do you feel moving forward to grow your personal brand, which in turn grows your Gem Resourcing's brand, is social? And what's your spin on it? Because my spin on it is very different to your spin on it. But I'd love, and I'm sure people watching this would love to know, how you grew your social following to what the hell it was. Because your impact is next level. Yeah. And how important that is for Gem Resourcing.
So the importance is crazy. Like, even when we're doing our just general marketing, I get people saying, oh, hey George, you sent me an email, I've seen you fight before, etc. So I love that, I love that. It shows every sort of benefit you would want. But where that was created from was simple human principles. I go out there, I fight, it doesn't matter if you're big, small, I'm going to say hello, I'm going to be polite, I'm going to be friendly. It doesn't matter if you're an opponent or an enemy. I'm just the same guy across recruitment, fighting, football, anything. I don't change who I am for anyone. And I guess that gains a little bit of traction,
And on the back of that, talking about your branding, you do sponsor a lot of sporting teams in Perth.
Yeah.
Tell us more about that and why you do it.
So I guess I actually coach a team called Kwinana United. That's just it's a football team in Perth, and I sponsor them because not only because I'm the coach, but I see the benefit of what a sponsor can actually do to a team.
Yep.
And it can just be, look good, feel good. That's a simple little phrase. And what I mean by that is the boys rock up on game day, and because they've had a little bit of sponsorship from a company who supported them locally, they're able to wear the right gear when they show up on game day. Everyone looks the same. Everyone looks presentable. And I guess it just takes that professionalism to the next step.
Yep.
So if you're a local business out there and you're thinking about sponsoring a local team, I highly recommend it, because for me, because I'm involved, I've able to see the impacts. And we spoke a lot about growth across all boards and development. We spoke about new growth quite a lot. What about existing growth? So what I mean by that is not just clients, but what about your own staff? You've obviously had Laura and Anthea now for quite some time, and obviously Rachel and Claire. They've been part of the TRS family for a while. So how far have you seen them all come individually, and what's that been like?
From day one, whenever we bring in new recruiters, as you know, I insist they go through the RCSA recruitment certificate training program. They also have a yearly budget for self-development around education. If they want to go do something, if it's relevant to the only hashtag is, and the only requirement is it has to be relevant to TRS in your desk. I'm not going to pay for you to learn how to skydive unless you can convince me that it's beneficial to the desk. I think so. investing in staff is so fucking important, because if you don't invest in your staff, people go, well, if you invest in them and they leave, all the IP goes out the door. Yeah, but if you don't invest in them and they stay, oh shit. Like, it's, I don't see it as a, if a staff member leaves, and I have had a couple leave in the last 12 months, and, you know, I wish them well, and, you know, they have offers to come back if they wanted to. But at the same time as well, you know, staff need to grow as an individual. And sometimes that odyssey that they're on with you comes to an end for their own reasons. But also you need to make sure that you're changing things up. And that's the biggest thing I've learned is staff, especially recruiters, need challenges. You know, they need to go work, hunt, recruit. They need to do all that.
And if someone, say, is maybe starting to lack in that area, where maybe they're comfortable, or maybe they just have things going on in their personal life, and I guess they're lacking that hunger, how do you bring the hunger back and make sure that they stay on the right path?
We're all human, right? And I've spoken about this a couple of times previously. I had some dramas in my personal life last year that basically I checked out of TRS for 6 months. I was there, but, you know, I wasn't there. It just went along, you know, and things. So we're all human. We're all going through something at some stage or another. And it's really the most effective thing that you can do is just offer support. Now, whether that's through an employee assistance program, or just listening, or just saying, hey, something's not right with you. Let's go for a chat. Just go for a walk. Let's, you know, depending on the time of the day, let's go for a brewski. And we'll just have a chat. But investing in staff and investing is really an investment in your own well-being, because training up staff, giving them new skills and education gives me the benefit, like the knowing that they have the skills and the ability to take on their desk and grow it into them. As you know, in recruitment, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when something drama is going to hit the fan. We're dealing with human beings. My career is 23 years in the making here, and like, I've never had the same day twice. You know, to me, investing in staff, giving them the best tech available, giving them the opportunity to do their job, giving them the opportunity to also go on holidays and not worry that their desk isn't going to be looked after. You know, we have those procedures in place. I'm going on holiday soon, and that's where I kind of feel that as an owner, that's how I hold myself to a high level, is to make sure that all my staff has the correct training procedures, and not just to sit on that and go, they're fine, whatever. Because, and I've said this a lot today, but you know, you set your company up, it goes in this direction. Suddenly the market changes, requirements of that client or that whole sector change, and you get put in this direction. Or new tech comes along. I mean, how much AI are you using in your business? You know, I looked over on your screen today and you had chat up, you know, going away, making sure that you've got all that infrastructure in place. And how quickly things are changing. Now, people go to me, oh, you're worried about AI taking your job. Fuck no. No. I'm not fucking worried. Neither should anyone. Because if AI was doing a job, it's because there's no one else wants to do it.
And I guess if it was to one day take over, it wouldn't be in our lifetimes. So I think
are we going to have our Skynet moment? Maybe. I don't know.
Obviously, we spoke a lot about staff, current staff, etc. Right? I mentioned earlier in the conversation that I'm bringing someone on soon.
Yes.
And that would be my first trainee or recruiter coming on board, right? What advice would you give me as the managing director of Gem Resourcing to ensure that transition is smooth and comfortable for the new employee?
I'm deliberately leaning into this because I know how you operate. My advice to you is this. Make sure from day one you have your expectations in place, documentation in place, their computer their desk, their phone, everything in place from day one. Not bring
and
them
what
on.
impact does that have on the person?
That person realises that you are the real deal. I lose count of the amount of people that bring an employee on, oh, we haven't got your computer sorted out.
It's true.
We haven't got your email sorted out. Or we haven't got your phone sorted out. Or we're system access. Or we haven't even got your keys to the office. You really, welcome, but not really. Like, come on board. Welcome aboard, but we're not ready for you. Nothing tells a new employee that you haven't got your shit together. My biggest advice to you is this. Fuck's sake, make sure you have your shit together.
Good advice.
And I'm talking to you because I fucking know you, and I'm telling you, not your Scottish, she'll be right, we'll get to it.
No, I'm ready for that. I'll learn from the best.
Okay, that's my biggest piece of advice to you. From
Good.
day one, phone, computer, email, setup, email signature, access to the CRM, already posted on your website. So before the employee starts,
Yeah, I have it already. I like it.
go get professional photos sorted out. We've got a few friends in Perth that can sort it out, and make them feel welcome. Have that LinkedIn post ready to go on the day that they leave. So listen, when they're going through induction, oh, by the way, I just posted to LinkedIn the company page that you've started with. Congratulations, welcome on board. Things like that.
The little 1%ers.
The little 1%ers that will add up to make that person feel welcome. Because you need that person to buy into your vision. People think, they're coming for a job and a paycheck. Couldn't be further from the truth. Buy into the vision. And in order for them to buy into the vision, they need to feel honestly welcomed. And not like, whatever. Like, welcome, but not really. As in, feel genuinely welcome that they're part of something. Because when you're a small, independent business, or I'll just talk from my experience from recruitment businesses, okay? As you knew, when I started TRS, I used to have Bloomberg on in the background for people speaking, so it sounded like I was talking in an office.
We've come a long way.
We've come a long way. And I have never said I was the founder. When I first started TRS, I was the manager. I always said when I rang up a new company, I work for TRS Resourcing. Never fucking heard of you before. But shit, there sounds like a lot of people in your office. I'll listen to you. I never said I was the owner. Okay? So when you bring on that person, okay, especially when it's just the 3 of you, 4 of you in an office, right? And you've got all that employment liability on your shoulders, and insurance liability, and all the other bullshit that goes. And I'm not saying that it's not. It's needed, right? But make sure you have your fucking shit together. End of story. Okay?
Good advice. Simple, but good advice.
Simple advice is always the best advice.
Agreed, but many people don't follow that, and it's applicable to big and small companies.
Yeah. Something we talk a lot about, and it is very recruitment orientated, but I'm a big believer in licensing and recruitment industry, basically having a higher power to report to, which is generally in this case state governments and soon to be federal governments. We hold similar views to this, but I'd like to talk about why having recruitment license is a good thing for the industry. Well, I'll rephrase the question. Do you think having licensing and legislation within the recruitment industry is a good thing?
Absolutely.
Tell me why.
Of course, like anything, you shouldn't drive a car without a license.
Couldn't agree more.
You shouldn't recruit people without a relevant license. It proves that you have a skill set within that sector and you've been certified to say that you can do your job. Mm-hmm. And it's no different to having a trade certificate or, like I mentioned, having a driver's license to drive a big truck. It's basics. But as you said, the basics are important. So no, I definitely think it's mandatory. What's your thoughts?
My thoughts are absolutely needed to happen a long time ago. Don't know why it didn't happen a long time ago. I think we need a federal-wide license. It's a bit like the old white card situation we had back in the day. Each state had their own safety induction card for exactly the same thing, and they weren't starting to recognise each other, but some states did and some states didn't. So I believe legislating and, putting structure around making sure that, we all do the right things great for the industry. Real estate, car dealers have had it, finance brokers, insurance have had it for years. I don't know why recruitment was such a thing, but you know, as industry evolves. What I'd also like to speak to you about, what's going on in WA? I've been out of the game for 12 months. I wouldn't have a clue. Someone rang me up the other day looking for something, and I told them to talk to you, and turns out that subsidiary was already talking to you. So anyway,
it's going really well. Honestly, it's a challenge, like we mentioned earlier, but it's a challenge for the better, because my clients understand that if I don't have someone ready to rock and roll, it's just because they're not there, you know, or I've not yet found them or come across them. And when I do come across the right person for that given individual, they take them, they trust me, and it's brilliant. Honestly, the model that we've got, the clients that are supportive over in WA, it's going really well. I guess you mentioned earlier, it's just about growing it, increasing the span of that client base, and bringing on the right clients. The right clients is key. Don't just bring on anyone because the sake of it sounds great. Make sure you do your correct checks prior, credit checks, your safety checks. They're all crucial to the bigger picture. But that just goes back to the baby steps that I mentioned earlier.
You probably haven't heard me say this for a little while. Balance sheet above all, including you.
So how important is a balance sheet?
I'll go even one step. It's probably more important to actually know what you're reading on the balance sheet to start with. We could do a whole podcast just on that. It does my fucking head in that people don't understand the difference between a balance sheet, profit and loss statement, turnover, gross and net. Like, holy shit.
But I guess that just goes back to what I said earlier. You know, that was one of the challenges I guess I had to go over, because who teaches you these things? You know, I understand.
ASIC if you're not careful.
I agree, but for someone that's maybe listening, right, who's thinking about starting a business, that sits there and goes, oh, well, hold on a minute. You know, I don't know that. Where would you direct them to? How would you help them gain that knowledge before taking the leap?
Good question. I'll answer this in a very different way. Self-education. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. 10X is easier than 2X. Probably the two big books that The Gap, Not the Gain. There's another book. I listen to an audio book a week. Okay, I do a lot of driving. I think I've done 28,000/30,000 Ks in Lana in the last 12 months.
Nice. And for those that don't know, Lana
is my fire-breathing Mustang, which I'm very shortly taking on Bull Rush, that you thought was black this morning.
Yeah, I couldn't see your car.
What? Yeah.
He was picking me up this morning, couldn't see him.
Yeah. So the thing is, people watching this, right, is... I'd say this thing. I didn't know the difference between a balance sheet, profit and loss, turnover, gross and net. And that sent my first company in WA down the gurgler, owing over $1 million when I was 36. And we won't go into that story now. But out of that, I learned those steps. And people go, oh, I'll get to that later. I didn't even have an accountant when I started my first business, or a bookkeeper. And people watching this is, before you worry about the vision about starting glassware or lollies or microphones or desks or lighting or whatever, take a basic accounting course so you can understand what you're reading. Because it's all well and good to say, you know what, I'll just leave that to the accountant. The accountant knows what they're doing. What's half the conversation that we had last night? Like, making sure you understand what's in that. Yeah. Like, understand what's in the balance sheet, understand your employment liabilities, understand all that. And it does shock me, the amount of people that I meet that are running reasonably sized businesses that just turn around to me and say, oh, just leave that to the accountant.
Yeah. I guess for me, the reason why I asked that, right, is because, I mean, part of it's basic and it's just common knowledge, I guess, through school and stuff in early days. But not everyone understands it, you know, as much as they should, especially those that are looking to take that step into business. For myself, where it was interesting was I caught up with Tryon, a good friend of ours. This was prior to Gem Resourcing starting. It was days before even. I was still working my notice period. And he said, so George, what's your turnover? What are you expecting? And I said, oh hold on, not sure. He's like, just give me a rough figure. And I'm going, and I was really hesitant. And straight away, that hesitation proved that I didn't know what I was talking about.
Correct.
And for me, that moment, I went away and said, okay, I need to understand. I may not have it down packed as well as anyone, but I have the knowledge that's required to move forward in the business, and I understand what's on the balance sheet as much as I need to know. You know, I'm not an accountant, but I know the ins and outs of gem resourcing. And
Good.
How important do you think that is for a business owner?
Extremely important. Just because you got money in the bank doesn't mean you can spend it. It's for a business owner, your accountant / bookkeeper isn't your life coach or psychologist. So just saying because they specialize in the numbers doesn't mean that they're just going to take things. You need to give them good data, and good business practices. I kind of feel that you learn from your fuck ups instead of successful. The biggest issue I had early on in my recruitment career is I had spectacular success with my last recruitment company really early on, and I thought I was indestructible. And I broke one of the biggest, Scarface rules of business. I got to hire my own supply. I guess what I'm trying to say to people that are listening is trying to take something away. If you don't know what you don't know, and ignorance sometimes is bliss, but when you're a managing director or a sole trader of your own company, you really need to know the basics. And if you don't know the basics, go work for someone for a couple of years to learn the basics before you go out on your own. And I guess that's the biggest thing I can say. I mean, I had a big problem last week. We had a corrupted payroll file on the contractor file. Broke my heart. My contractor workforce didn't get paid till Friday. It got sorted out that night and we paid it and go from there. But I still posted on my personal LinkedIn page to be 100% present and to actually go to the market and say, hey, this is what's happened. No one rung us up and said, what the fuck's going on? No one abused me. I was honest to the market well ahead of time. And I think that as we build brands, I'm a massive believer in your personal brand, especially as a managing director, needs to be incorporated in the company, especially with recruitment companies, right? You need to promote, you need to build from there. My question to you is, how are you going to build the gem resourcing brand moving forward?
I just keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I know that sounds really simple, but everything that I'm doing is excellent. It's working. It's, I guess, similar to how TRS started. It's the basics. Everything that I do with the structure from morning to night, I just keep doing it.
Yep.
And over time, I'll gain more clients by doing the right things. Transparency is for me is key, because I caught up with a client last week and I was in their workshop and they said, oh, George, can you give me this, and this? And I was like, hey, yes, certainly.
At a price.
But I will start on this and then I will move to this and this and this. And I gave them a plan as to how I was going to target the big job. And I've done that so far. I contacted them. I have an interview this morning.
Yep.
That's step one. The client knows when step one's completed, we move on to step two. And they know that they have my full attention and full support. But it comes down to being transparent and just letting them know, hey, this is what's going on. And that's the way I operate. So to answer your question, it's just following those basic, simple processes and know that every day that passes, you stay on the right path. You keep motivating yourself, like we discussed earlier, right or wrong, and it will grow and it will happen. And then you'll face different challenges along the way, which we'll encounter as a village.
Good answer. Really good answer, actually. Who the fuck are you?
I've done this is my second time on the podcast.
Yeah, I was about to say, you're a first return,
I learned from the first time.
Yeah, you learned from the first
But
time.
on the personal side, right, I know people may or may not learn from this, but how important is it to have that personal aspect away from the business? So you mentioned you've got Bull Rush coming up, you're going away for 2 weeks, it's your first holiday in a while. How excited are you for that? And are you nervous to, I guess, take
I've told the office if the only reason you're calling me is something better be fucking on fire. And I do mean on fire.
Good. And I guess you trust the office 100% to cover?
We've got systems in place, procedures. I am very curious to see what they do whilst I'm away. Because, you know, I am a firm believer in giving people the room to operate.
I know them well. I'm sure they'll smash it. And I think it'll be good for the company because you'll, I guess, have faith that you can step away and know that your team have got it under control. And that goes back to what I said earlier, where even though it might just be one guy at the front of TRS, there's a whole team behind them.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, when I first started TRS, the brand of the company was TRS Resourcing, Tavis Ryan Shearer. Because I traded, because no one knew.
Yeah, of course.
TRS was, right? And it was only on all our seat branding and stuff like that as well. And then you started with the business, and then I think a couple of months after that, I dropped. We rebranded again.
Yeah, I remember.
I dropped TRS Resourcing, made a big thing. Hey, we're all part of the company, moving the vision forward. Now, as we've moved forward, we've just gone to the circle.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where we're moving to next. You know, it's more about people know what we're about, the brand, the website, and it's always an odyssey of development, right? And as your company grows, you need to reinvest, right? Keep reinvesting, reinvest in the staff, reinvest in the tech, change out the tech, more into CRM development, making sure that, you know, the vision thing, and also listening to your clients and your candidates and your staff about feedback. Feedback's really important, right? And that I learned that the hard way. That I was a really bad listener with my first thing.
So you're good now?
I'm better now. I'm better. I think, you know, we're all individuals, right? And we all have our own individual processes and points of reference and all that kind of stuff, right? But at the end of the day, as bad as this sounds, our clients don't give a shit. They just want a product. They pay for a result. And us as managing directors of owners of independent recruitment businesses, right? That's what the whole purpose of what we here are to do. To give people meaningful employment opportunities. Give them an opportunity to take a new job. Give our clients what they ask for within reason.
All within the correct safety protocols, of
All
course.
within the correct safety protocols, making sure that everyone's making money along the way, and it's a win-win situation. There's nothing worse than dealing with a client that's resentful for using a recruiter.
Yeah, and there's a lot out there. There's a lot out there. I've seen it time and time again where people just won't break the spirit and they won't give you an opportunity because some other recruiter 10 years ago was an idiot. You know?
Oh, yeah, and you know what? The industry was very different 10 years ago to what it is now. Like, the industry's gone through a massive paradigm shift in multiple directions. Like, and what shocked me, right, was the average tenure of a recruitment consultant in a company is 8 months. I'm like, what the fuck?
That's alarming.
8 months.
It's alarming. But that's why it's important that we do everything that we do. Going back to what you said earlier, making sure that when a new starter starts, you've got everything organised, you've got it sorted. You know, if companies aren't doing that, they're obviously there's multiple other things they're not doing right. They're a lot more complex than the simple stuff. So I guess I'm not surprised, but 8 months is rather alarming.
But and this is why I think also why recruiters leave the industry, because in 8 months you're not going to make a decent comms pipeline. You're not going to build rapport with your clients, and we're not that we're in recruitment to make money, and that's the only reason we're here. And those sort of recruiters don't last. You know, it's about understanding the market that you supply and you know, supply it to the best of your ability, as you know.
The way I see it though is it's a business within a business. You know, so you know, we call it desks, I guess, but your desk is your business, and you have to specialize in that. And when I was listening to you on the phone earlier on, and I was hearing you talk about the clients and the jobs and the specific details of the position to make sure that the candidates knew that not only that they knew what they were going into, but you as a recruiter knew your stuff. And I think that's why it's so important that we specialise in each area to make sure that we are 100% covered across the board. You know what you're selling. There's no point.
Yeah, and if you're watching this and you're wanting to become a recruiter, and there's a few people out there, you know, they want to become recruiters, and I think there should be more of it. I think the one thing that you need to understand is how do you get in front of people like you and me, right? And it's not about just ringing up or sending a CV in or sending me an email on LinkedIn or sending me a DM on freaking Instagram. It's about demonstrating that you understand to be a recruiter is you need to know how to build a relationship with clients and candidates, but basic sort of stuff. And how many clients have you and I dealt with that are just burnt badly by recruiters because of poor this, poor follow-up, poor, like, and how do you think as an industry we go around fixing that?
Do what you say on the side of the tin. You know, I guess sometimes it's just asking for a chance.
You're telling me I should write a book?
Certainly not. But it's literally just a matter of asking, hey, I know this has happened. Give me a chance. I will not let you down. And if they give you a chance, great. It's then up to you to do everything that you say you're going to do. And if you do your job right, you'll prove them wrong and it will change their take on it. If they don't give you the opportunity because they've been burned previously before, that's on them. We move on.
Okay. I feel like we're running out of time, but I never know with these things. Sometimes I massively run over and sometimes I massively run under. Why are you in Melbourne?
So
I asked you this last time you were here.
Yeah, so I'm here for my holidays, not to Melbourne. I'm dressed to go to the USA tomorrow. I'm very excited. And I thought I'd come in, see the team at TRS on the way, and make sure that everything's going well.
It worked out beautiful timing, actually. And I'm glad that we've had a follow-up. I'll probably get you on again sometime. I'm liking getting, catching up and going from there. Okay, well, I think we've asked all the questions that you want to ask. Is there anything you want to ask of me?
No, I'm happy. I think
come on. Are you joking me? You normally have one question for me. Not one.
I think we're well covered.
On that, sir, as always, it's an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast.
Likewise.
And until next time we do this.
I look forward to it.
Me too. I'm looking forward to it.